What is up, ladies and gentlemen, or who is out there in La La Land or wherever you are when you watch this, YouTubers? Welcome back to another wonderful episode of our favorite thing to do on a Wednesday night. It's Three Dudes in a Record Store. The drill. I am your host, the wizard, the Skip Bayless of music television. Sitting at home somewhere, being awesome and having a million kids and a real job is the Metal Maniac. But like always, we have his awesome list.
We have his contribution.
And this guy sporting his own merch.
Yeah.
B. Man, it's fucking so good to have you back on the couch, brother.
Dude, it feels good. We had to miss a couple.
We had to do life gets in the way, you know. It's right that end of the school graduations and all that stuff, you know.
Had all that stuff going on.
Family time. It was all good.
Yeah, sometimes it just gets too thick. I just have to abstain from certain activities, but
yeah, B texted me this morning and was all like, or maybe it was last night, and I was like, I got my list, but I have done zero footwork.
I was surprised. I thought you had it already.
I had the list when we talked about this subject, 2.5 weeks ago. I had my list within a day, and then I didn't do anything with it.
Okay, so
I fine-tuned it from there.
Did we even say what our topic is?
We didn't. Would you like to?
We're just gonna leave it a mystery.
We are gonna leave it. I got a quick update, a quick out, if you will. Our wonderful of the show, Young Q, was released from the hospital today and has gone home.
Good news.
Well done, my man. Fight continues. But he is pretty much in clear and looking good, and all things considered, wonderful.
That's great
news.
That's great to hear.
They have moved from Idaho to Alaska, so he's living in the great white west, I guess. It's not quite north. He's out there. He's out there in the snow.
Yeah. That's another world over there.
I go hang out with the clan beings, but there's no, unless there's a place to ride bike, the only place I'm going north is Canada. So,
have you been to Alaska?
No, never have.
Me neither, man.
Seems like really effing cold.
That's not my jam.
With global warming, though, I think we'll all be living in Alaska eventually.
Maybe so, man. The Pacific Northwest, 113 degrees and shit.
Anyway, congrats, Young Q.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Wish you well.
Anybody of any age to go through that is terrible, but to be that young,
keep it up, keep it up.
But sounds like he's a fighter.
Yeah, takes after his mom and his pop. Crusaders. That's how we do, man.
Yeah.
We don't let the little stop us from, enjoying our lives, our lives yet to live.
No matter what's going on, you always got to try to find a way to enjoy your life and just keep rolling with it.
Yeah, Uncle Greg will take you to Vegas eventually. Don't tell your mom and dad, but we'll do the damn thing. Trust me. Like we'll fucking hook it up. It'll be fun.
That's rad. That's rad. Well, I wish the best to Q.
Yeah. All right. Tell the audience why they're here.
Well, so after last episode, we're always looking to mix it up and kind of do something different from the last one. So something we hadn't touched on yet. We're not going to deal with the music such as the cover art of the albums that contains the music. So I'm sure we won't be able to completely stay away from talking about the music they're in, but we're going to focus on the artwork. And
0% chance that this is the only time of volume 2, maybe a 3.
Yeah, I mean,
just of the stuff that I only went from stuff that I own, and I had a hard enough time.
Yeah, there's too much. As I was doing it, I was like thinking this could go on forever. But I mean, that's the beauty of it. album art can be really special. Of course, people make horrible album art.
Oh, I can't wait to do that one.
The worst album covers ever made.
Oh, there's some bad ones.
And so
on some great records.
That happens too. Sometimes work betrays the music. Both physical media lovers, that's a big part of why we're doing this, because on physical media, the artwork is part of the story that the artists are telling. It's part of the overall presentation.
You have there's an adage in sales that you sell the sizzle, not the steak. The music's the steak.
Man,
the album art is the sizzle. And a lot of, especially, I think we've talked about this before. The greatest part about going into record stores was you didn't have a ton of money. Most of us didn't have a lot of money. We were a little poor, and you'd scrape up your shekel. You'd get one shot. So you'd look for the craziest.
Yeah. If you didn't have something specific in mind, or you were trying to explore stuff you weren't familiar with, you go with what you're visually drawn to first. This is something I've been talking about as an aside here. Kind of ties in to what you just said. The world of craft beer these days, the labels.
Yeah.
The labels are selling the beer, man.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, a lot of it's really good, but
definitely 100%.
It's exploded. There's a million labels out there that are trying to get your attention.
You have a very narrow to hook somebody in, unless they've heard a track or two and they're gonna buy it sparked off of that. A lot of times that can hook you.
Indeed. And so to reiterate, there are so many that we
again, this
are
is
not going to
just
feature here.
Just stuff that I own. So this isn't even. I didn't even go into like lists of top 50 or 100 record albums ever. I just I shied away from just went off. There's even stuff that I'm like, God, how did I not put that?
Yeah, I went through my collection, and first off was trying to identify ones that I automatically know, like, oh, I've had a feeling about this album cover for a long time, or I've just sat and stared at this album cover.
It was a lot of that, like being a young kid and just being like,
there's clearly one band that we won't spoil it, but it's going to be in both of our stacks here.
I'm pretty sure that Jay's got maybe 3 or 4 from, if it's the same band that I'm thinking of. He's got like 4 in his. He gave me a list of 10 in there. I only went 1 from, if it's the same band I'm thinking of. I only went 1. I tried to pick.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that I picked my favorite album cover from them. I just.
It's too hard. It's too hard. We're talking about the same band, but
favorite. But I think the album cover before that is the one that really, but
and then so
we're gonna do like 5 or 6 mentions and then like a 15, and I did not rank mine, so
we initially said it was going to be our top 15 of all time and then 5 honorable mentions.
I'm throwing out like 2021, and they're in whatever order you want. Could be anywhere depending on how I feel.
Yeah, so we'll do first 5s and then read Jay's list. Is that how we're doing it?
For sure.
So criteria for me is
is
how personally important record cover to me in terms of the artwork, or just loving that album and just loving to look at that. Then I think the iconic status, a cover that resonates universally. Most people would recognize it. That I think just the conceptual art quality of it making a great.
I think one of the most famous album covers ever was going to be on my list, and for some of those reasons. And then I looked at it and I was like, "Is this really great? Like, why is this so iconic? I don't like. It's cool and all, but holy moly!"
And
so I just kicked it back. I didn't even.
Yeah, and just so you know, we know that there will be record covers not in either of our lists that are probably so important, recognizable covers.
This is where you come in. We need you to get into those comment sections. We need you to get all your friends to subscribe. We need all you guys to get vocal and tell us what your favorites are, or tell us why our list are awesome.
And one final thing I'm going to say, and I think I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that you're also on the same page. I did not pick any Beatles record covers.
I came close. I had Abbey Road.
Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper's are hugely iconic album covers, but
then I was like, there's so much other stuff that to put this on, I got to take something off, and I don't want to.
And everybody knows those. Everyone's seen those a million times.
But yeah, I definitely own like 2 Beatles records, that and Revolver.
Yeah. All of the Beatles record covers are iconic. Everyone knows them. I probably would have picked Abbey Road as well. That's a great
that image is everywhere.
Yeah. But I decided to leave some more personal stuff.
I agree.
All right.
From 1989, a band that is unheralded for whatever reason, never quite hit the mainstream. It's an illustration by James McDermott.
Wow.
Gretchen Goes to Nebraska.
I did not think to pick that, but you and I both love that album.
There are so many of these things where there's not going to be a huge descriptor of it because they don't have a lot of the stuff. There was no real story behind it. That's kind of what I was hoping, but this, in so many ways, just is like,
if you can show that a little bit closer.
Yeah, they're like ripping back.
Yeah, it's so cool.
The fabric of space to show you almost like a
virgin forest or something.
Yeah, like a Wizard of Oz kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's the first
one.
That
is a great
concept. Great band. Another
cover
band that I love to death from 1981. Ghost in the Machine by the Police. It took me until the last 3 years to realize that that's supposed to be their heads.
Yeah,
it's not just digital readouts. So I thought that was cool.
The album is Ghost in the Machine, and the idea was that
it was like digital,
like what you'd see on a digital alarm clock.
The ghosts took over.
So it's not showing the numbers correctly, and then it was supposed to actually represent the 3 band members.
From 2017.
Interesting.
This whole album was kind of a love letter to his children. Is Primus with the Saturating, and this is a great record.
Was it like old doll story?
No, it's Ulderico.
Oh, okay.
It's a book called The Rainbow Goblins.
Oh, right.
And that's why they're taking the color from the world. And he would read the book to his kids.
Oh, okay.
And then he thought, man, this would make a great.
I had heard about that. That was a book I never knew.
So the illustration is by the author and illustrator himself. And it's really cool. It's a really great record. Go give it a spin. I love the Primus.
So that album cover ranks pretty high for you.
Yeah, it's just so interesting and cool, and all the different goblins have different colors, and it's almost like when you look at it, if you look at it now, they're obviously looking at a painting of a rainbow behind it because it's color, but really look at it, it's almost Last Supper-esque.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we did go to Catholic school, so there's all kinds of.
Yeah, definitely.
The goblins are all weird looking, and plus this record is just so damn good.
I don't want to be negative, but the only thing about that is that the Primus's logo takes up too much of the space.
Yeah, but inside, the illustrations inside of it are phenomenal.
Nice.
Again, with the 81, when you talk about iconic album covers. So this is a triple entendre.
Yeah.
There are people moving pictures. There's a film crew that's making a moving picture. And then there are people, and if you see the people, they're crying. So the pictures are moving.
Wow. Yeah.
And this is the legislature building in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It's a real building. You can go visit that if you
really a conceptual piece of artwork
Brilliant.
for an album
Love
cover.
it.
And of course, it matches the powerful awesomeness of that record.
Great record. My last two honorable mentions are both from 1979 and probably album covers you could not make today. The first one is a photo by Chris Callis.
Oh yeah.
Head Games by Foreigner. Like, what is she doing? She's taking a dump. She's taking a whiz. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing in the boys' room? I just think it's hilarious, and you'd never be able to make this.
And there's another double entendre, Head Games.
Yeah.
She's in the head.
And again in 79, idea and photo by Storm Thorgerson, another album cover you'd never be able to make. They had a string of album covers in the 80s that were... but Love Drive is... As a kid, I was blown away. I won't even show you what the real cover was supposed to look like, because I would get real big trouble, but...
So
there's just so much going on.
They're hard to figure out. They have one album cover in particular that by today's standards it doesn't hold up.
It's creepy.
It's creepy. We won't go into that, but this one, it's provocative, but in a very weird way. I have no idea what they're trying to say.
And they didn't, and when they talk about it, they didn't realize it would be such a conundrum over it, because they said the only country in the world that they toured where the girls would flash them while they were on stage was America. So they didn't see such a big deal in showing some booby. But
well, Europe has always been
a little bit more open with their...
They don't hypersexualize things the same way.
What the hell they were ever thinking with that record that shall not be named? Those are my honorable mentions.
Nice. Man, see if I can live up to that. All right. This one, it's iconic as heck. The first Doors album. Clearly Jim Morrison's face is predominant, but the other guys kind of come out of the shadow. And I think it just kind of set a stage for mood on an album cover in that era.
That's their first record too, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost ethereal, like they're coming out of him. Like
there might be some ego, I don't know. And then the back is kind of another take on that. I don't know if it's the greatest album cover of all time, but the Doors mean a lot to me. And we've all seen this, and you can imagine back in 1967.
Bands on album cover fairly routine, so when you find a band that does something a little different with it,
I think that honestly, intuitively, one of the reasons I picked this is because this has influenced a lot of album covers. The one that I could easily name is Danzig 2, Lucifuge, definitely a play on this cover, but I think a lot of bands after this were probably trying to do this kind of artsy, shot of the band like that. All right. This one, just a long-time personal favorite. This is actually a play on another classic album by the Rolling Stones called Sticky Fingers, but instead of picking that one, I picked Motley Crue's debut record. This is art or just trash.
Why can't it be both?
Yeah, I think maybe that's
this is
how I feel
early
about
as hell pressing of this record, isn't it?
This is one
still
of
on Leather Records.
Yeah, this is Leather Records pressing. If you know anything about it,
I can't believe you brought this out of your house. What is this thing worth?
I don't know, $100 maybe. This is a blown up picture of Vince Neil there. With his very ridiculous hair.
Shit.
It's kind
he
of
ain't never going to be that thing again.
This is kind of in your face thing to put on their first album. That's I don't know how else to say it.
Too.
Just going for the crotch shot there. showing you
early 80s LA sleaze rock.
A little foreshadowing, there may be another album cover by this artist that I think is better. I happen to love Grace Jones, and this is one of her best covers.
She's one of the most unique looking human beings to ever walk the face of the planet. Indeed. And thanks, Grace Jones, for giving us Lundgren.
Yeah.
They were dating.
And that's how he got into the business?
She was in that Double Open movie, and somebody didn't make it to set.
Oh, wow.
Like, he was like one of the bodyguards for the bad guys, and she's like, hey, put this dude in there.
So that precursored the Rocky IV.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. This is a photograph that's obviously been touched a little bit, but the thing is, other photographs of Grace Jones that aren't touched up, where her natural skin tone and her features and the way she knows how to pose her body and sort of a living object in a way, she's just incredible looking. And there's another one
still killing it years later.
More amazing cover, but this one jumps out. She's just a beautiful specimen of a human being. So had to put in some Grace Jones. All right, this is one of the most iconic. Yeah, know what that laugh means. This is one of the most iconic jazz album covers, as well as the era of psychedelic music, and then just kind of art that was very representative of changing attitudes and mindsets going on in America in the late 60s. Miles Davis Bitches Brew, the backside, also has amazing art. If I'd have done my homework, I would have readily had this artist on my tongue. It's an iconic album artist. Did a lot of other wonderful jazz albums, Miles Davis stuff. Who else did they do? I don't know if they did Santana or something like that. But anyway, yeah, just I've stared at this for a total of many hours in my life. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of art on an album cover. All right, so that was 4. I got one more that we're considering honorable mentions. Kind of a frightening cover. Keep turning it cockeyed here.
The first ever little goat skull Danzig logo.
This precursors the solo Danzig era, or the Danzig band era, I should say, which Glenn Danzig drew himself. He pretty much conceived all of their stuff, the lettering scheme, and I'm sure he mixed up the batch of fake blood to douse each other. Also, it's got the iconic Death Dealer image from the Sam Hain era. I just had to throw this in. This is just such an iconic punk, whatever it is. Just it's dark. It's not the first to do kind of a shocking thing like that, but you know, I just looked at this quite a lot.
Yeah, those are definitely ones you stare at while the record spins.
Yeah, it just kind of brings you into a world of the macabre out of the mind of Dan. So there you go.
Jason's list is, funny enough, all metal. Because metal and punk have the album covers. It's hard not to go. So you went for Those About to Rock, Screaming for Vengeance, Painkiller, Animal Magnetism.
Nice. Okay.
So I think that's the one that came after Love Drive, with the girl on her knees that's holding the dog.
Yep.
Prayer for the Dying, Somewhere in Time, Marching, Power and Glory by Saxon. I might have went with Crusader by Saxon, but
he didn't have.
Defenders of the Faith and Power Slave.
Nice.
Was his number one.
So one band in particular that almost every one of their covers has mesmerized us for many years. I can't believe he didn't have like All Hail to England by Manowar on there. That's a good album.
Nobody likes Manowar but you in the entire world. I don't even think Manowar like. I think they hate themselves.
Ross the Boss might not like it anymore.
Mati Klarwein or Klarwen is the artist that you're referring to from this 1970 masterpiece.
Yeah.
Bitches Brew by Miles Davis. I almost went with the one before this, which was Live Evil, because that had the Pregnant.
That is a wicked album,
which is an amazing. But if you look at the duality, it's got the black and white holding hands, which then spins off into. There's just a lot of amazingness going on with this. And like you said, when that they kick, everyone should own this album anyway because it's brilliant. Miles Davis is a genius, but there's so much. There's almost as much going on the cover as there is in the record. Like in the density of the music and the what he's trying to accomplish and achieve.
And who knows how much time and thought they put into matching a cover with a record like that. But clearly there's a symbiosis there.
And knowing how hands-on he was about every time. I think he picked that out purposely.
And there was several of his albums from that period with the Mad art, I think. But Live Evil is ridiculous. That's even a more tripped out piece of art.
I had fought between the two of them, and I had just kind of. It's just such an iconic album. And that record, you could not know anything about jazz, and you'll know that record.
You should know that record. Man, I'm excited about my picks, but I still am feeling...
like you left things off?
Well, just that they're...
I'm like, I left so much stuff off.
That is a deep well to
Volume
tap.
2.
That is a deep well to tap. All right, man. We've talked about this band before. Deep Purple in rock. Now, I'm going to explain why I picked this. I don't think it's the art. It may not even be Deep Purple's best looking album cover, but it's iconic to me, or conceptually iconic in my mind, because I love what they're saying here. This is obviously a take on Mount Rushmore. It's one more head than actually is on the real Mount Rushmore. But when this record came out, the level of heavy rockitude and the British invasion had happened. America was starting to put out some heavy rock bands. And basically, I think they're saying, nah, we're...
And then they are in rock.
Yes. So there's an entente there. But to me, they're just saying, we're your rock and roll leaders.
I had Fireball in my hand.
That's a cool one.
That's a good one. And then the one that I can't remember, the one with their candles and they're melting.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good one, too.
That's, I can't remember what that one's called. Coverdale one, or is that?
It might be. Yeah. It might be Coverdale and Hughes.
Anyway, I just love what they're suggesting with this album cover. I think it's ballsy.
I have a feeling on your list somewhere from 1988 of the crazy mind of Barry Farrell.
Oh, dude. I thought about it. I was picking too many. I didn't get to it. This was on my mind.
So the story is he had a dream, and this was his dream, and then he basically sculpted. He got the record company to sculpt it, and he watched kind of how they did it, and then he fired the artist and did it himself.
Oh, okay.
And that's his girlfriend. Like basically, he sculpted model his girlfriend twice, and then lit it on fire, and could only have.
Yeah. So
he had a small window to hit.
In the original Jane's Addiction home video that you could get, that was called Soul Kiss.
I think I had that.
There's some clips of them pouring the plaster over
her.
Yeah. Conceptually brilliant, and actually the first 3 early Jane's Addictions are all Perry Farrell artwork.
He was that whole ingenue kind of but
he had a vision. He was an
things
artist.
that drove him to want to do things with that band is also what destroyed that band. So
perhaps
that was nothing shocking, by the way, from 1988.
I thought you were commenting on what you had just said.
No, that they almost didn't get this record recorded.
Really?
They picked out a producer. They got ready to do everything. Farrell wrote all the lyrics, so then he went up and said, "I want 50% of all the money because I wrote all the lyrics, and you guys should whatever's left."
Oh.
And they were like, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that." But they ended up working it out. The friction started.
So that's possibly why Eric Avery never came back to the band.
It's 100% why he never came back.
That's really too bad because, not to disparage anybody that liked the reunion of Jane's Addiction.
It never touched that. They never touched that record again.
It didn't feel the same to me. All I could think was, well, Eric Avery never came back, and maybe that was the key.
They never touched. Even Ritual is still good, but it's still not that. They never ever came.
Ritual does have some great tunes that I have to hear every once in a while, but and I was a huge fan of the debut live record, slightly after the fact, but I'm glad you picked that because it did come to my mind. And
if you want to see the boys on the back,
I have stared at that cover. It's just a piece of art. And Jane's Addiction at that time happened to be my favorite band in the world. A friend of mine when I was a freshman came up to me one day and gave me his cassette tape of the debut album. He goes, "I think this is something you would like," and it just set me off.
George Lautritz,
Jane's
Addiction, in a huff.
Man.
At my after school one day, he never came over to my place first. I always went over there to escape my home life. And he was really got to listen to this. Yes, sir. Yes, I do.
We'll talk about Jane's Addiction on another episode. They were a very unique, merged all of these things that
They are so LA.
We loved the hair metal. Yep. We love punk. We love metal and
alternative
Led
music,
Zeppelin and all that stuff.
All
and
that.
They put it all into one thing beautifully. All right, we're going back to some jazz. And speaking of that Miles Davis, this record probably wouldn't exist had Herbie not worked with Miles during that Electric Fusion period. I think for a funky jazz record, and just an album cover in general that I've stared at a lot because the color tones, the hues, this weird thing that looks like a face, but it's some kind of it's got a VU meter on it. I don't know what it is, but I think that's just somehow describing what he felt as this wizard of the Fender Rhodes and early analog synthesizers and the funkiness of this outfit, Herbie Hancock with the Headhunters. And then the backside is really, really rad to look at too. So I don't know. I think this is one of the recognizable album covers for me and love it. Thought it should be in there.
From a sculpture to don't know what the hell it is from 2011 from the Scandinavian Viking meddlers Amon Amarth Sutur Rising. You've got a volcano, you got a Viking with a fiery sword, you got horseback warriors laying waste. I mean, who doesn't love that?
That is just epic fantasy art.
And the music matches it makes you want to ride into battle.
Yeah.
This is a band I really dig. They're a lot of fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. Like some people.
That was a dig.
It was a dig. Thank you for picking up on that. But if you want this kind of stuff done right, go to Amon Amarth.
This kind of stuff.
Not some goofy old men from New York who think they want to be barbarians. Go to the real source. To the Vikings themselves.
Yeah, but
pick up a little Amon Amarth. Every single one of their covers. Well, not all of them. Some of their early ones.
Who was taking more chicks back to the hotel, though?
I mean, sure, like some of them like Viking style, and some of them were being roofied by some sleazy New York idiots that dress in pelts.
I don't think I can argue. That was good.
Thank you.
Fucking dropping some knowledge, man. Man, this one came to me late in the game, picking out these covers, but I realized I had to go with this one because to me this is the best representation of this band, this live album, and I think this is just wacky and intense. It's full of energy. It's clearly AC/DC live, although it's got to be staged. But he's got the guitar neck coming through his gut. Or no, I guess it's going that way into his gut, and then the backside
like
is
alien-esque.
Yeah,
where it's ripping through his.
Okay, it does look like it's ripping through, but it's actually there's the body going in. It's all blurry, and then the back he's face down, and the neck is sticking through his back. Now, it's called "If You Want Blood, You've Got It." I guess this is supposed to run his commit to. Is he like performing seppuku with his guitar, or
could be? He's sacrificing himself for your rock and roll sins.
That seems to be. It's a ridiculous cover, but I think it's really impactful. It's just, to me, it portrays the energy of this band at that time. So I don't know. One of my all-time favorite album covers.
Oh, another one from 1981 with his young son Lewis on the cover. I think that was his name. An album cover that I stared at. Yeah. I mean, in 81, I was like 9 years old. So, like, you would stare at this record for hours trying to figure out all its little. And now you look at it and you're like, well, it's kind of cheesy, but man, it is so awesome. It's over the top gothic. He's got some weird paint on his face. He's got the upside down cross.
I gotta say,
what's the kid reading? Is it the Satanic Bible? Yeah. You don't know. Look at that creepy little kid. I
gotta say, the first 3 solo Ozzy records, and maybe he did that after 2, but I think the way these covers are shot. So with Blizzard of Oz, this one, and I'd say even Bark at the Moon.
Here's the back.
I like that they're trying to tell a story in this sort of diorama. You're looking at Ozzy, but there's this stuff going on in the background. This whole scene.
Yeah, you're getting lost in the whole.
Yeah, cool, really good.
When the satanic panic was starting to just take root, and you were like, "Oh my God, he's got upside down crosses!" And oh no, think of the kids.
That's great stuff, man.
And that song is just so friggin' amazing. That's the last record with
Randy.
With Randy.
Yeah, and the original drummer and bassist that were in Ozzy's band.
Yeah, Bob Daisley and Lee Kirksley.
Yes, who were essentially.
Don't ask me why I know that shit. Fucking ask me
because you know that.
Like, you know that.
Nerd for this stuff.
Yeah, right.
They were essentially forced out of any royalties.
They did a lot of the writing on it too.
They did. They
were instrumental in those first two records.
Songs.
We recorded them at the same time and then put them out. A year.
And so, some years later, Sharon didn't want those guys receiving as much money for their work, so they had those albums re-recorded. Well,
with
just
some
bass,
yeah.
the bass and drum parts.
It would take away from the mythical status of Ozzy's a legend, regardless of who writes what.
We all know Geezer wrote all the Black Sabbath lyrics. You know. So anyway, that DC kind of precursors this in a way, just in terms of this kind of blurry live action. I don't know if Greg's a big Nirvana fan, but
not a huge. I really liked this album when it first came out. I think I just kind of fell off the Nirvana thing because they became so popular and bloated, and I stopped
for sure
kind of being into
I kind of fell off for a bit too. I eventually realized how
it was great.
Yeah, and just this is very like sub pop era of that time, the late 80s, early 90s. A lot of photographs of those early so-called grunge bands like Mudhoney and Nirvana and Soundgarden were taken by a photographer who achieved this iconic look of these black and white images with light
like the reverse
and
negative
and
color scheme or whatever.
So I just think for a debut like Bleach, it also features a guitarist who was quickly ousted from the band, but just there's something about this that just screams this kind of new thing that was otherworldly to me at the time.
Another George Lautritz. He and I loved that record, and when Nevermind came out, I kind of went along with it because it was more. For me, it was more metalish than it was punkish.
Yeah.
And he immediately was like, no, this is trash. It's too, they were onto something, and then they totally. So he got off that bandwagon pretty quick. I didn't know.
Some people did.
You could pick any record that these guys ever put out, but I will take I guess it's not their latest. They just put an EP. But from 2020, Forever Black by Cirith Ungol. Not to be confused with Cirith Ungol. That's how they pronounce it in the Tolkien book. But for them, they're Cirith Ungol. So every single album cover that they've ever done is an Elric of Melibone painting by Michael Whalen, who did all the artwork for the Elric from Michael Moorcock. They did a comic and stuff.
Okay.
And so it's all art for that.
Wow.
So, it goes into with their proto-doom, powery kind of awesome metal. But I just love the sword and sorcery kind of epic. And this album cover is so stark, and you can see like the bird, and
that's one thing.
The sky's kind of dark and ominous, and
that is a style of album art that you will only get in metal or possibly proto-metal, heavy rock groups.
There's no country 70s, music recording artists putting that as their album cover.
No, and other
like Alabama wasn't having like.
No, and I mean, I suppose it would fit their milieu, but even other kinds of artists who contract someone to do an original piece of artwork or a photograph or something, you just don't get that kind of fantasy art that put that much heart into this painting that is oftentimes designated just to be that band's album art.
Hopefully Bill McClintock or DJ Cumberbund are somewhere watching this video. Like we know that they're big fans, and they're going to mash up now of Alabama and some kind of country music and some kind of doom metal. We need that in our lives.
Oh my God. What was it the other night? My friend told me to listen to. Oh, I'd have to find it in my YouTube history. It was a certain song slowed down, and it seriously sounded like Black Sabbath. It was crazy. I'll find that later.
Anyway, I love my mashups.
Moving on.
I love my mashups.
I grabbed this because I really do think this is a pretty meaningful album cover. I mean, when Wu-Tang came out, they changed the game, doing something completely unique as this large group of MCs. And the fact that they come out in these hoodies with these some kind of obscuring stocking over their face so you can't see any of their features. So if you hadn't looked in a magazine or seen a music video or something and you just saw this album cover, you don't know what these guys look like. You're just hearing
Up from the 36 chambers.
Actually, I can see that a couple guys in the back aren't covering their faces, but they're so far back and blurred that
made
you
them
can't
blurry.
see
So
and
they were on a shoestring budget at that point.
Yeah, me for a rap or hip hop album, that is just an iconic piece of album art. What you got next?
I'm going back to 86, an illustration by David Heffernan, staying in the same kind of fantasy realm of an album that I stared at for hours while I listened to the tape.
Oh,
the Legend.
Yes.
Trilogy.
God, I wish I would have picked
by Yngwie Malmsteen. The three-headed dragon. He's fighting off their fire breath with his guitar.
I love this
Fender
record.
Strat.
I listen to this record pretty often.
How epic is that? Like
that's what we're talking about, dude. A
like,
piece
dude,
of art.
Paint me fighting a three-headed dragon with my guitar. He probably has. It's like Scarface. He probably has this painting. Like this is epic. I don't even care.
He's got it above the headboard.
Yes,
with a big mirror over the bed.
That's me taking the bull by the horns. It's a metaphor, but also it happened.
Dude,
this is fucking.
What if
this is what album art is supposed to be?
It's
He's
amazing.
got the red, like it's almost like his Live in Leningrad outfit that he played. If you know what I'm talking about.
Now, normally thrift store art isn't that good, but it made me think of when people take thrift store art and they
that
paint,
amazing.
They paint something into the art.
He's trying to be all slick with his. Oh, look what I'm doing with my hands. Oh, look, you know what that means. Yeah. Where'd I find?
It's like there should be a belt buckle here.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yngwie.
I love him, dude. I listen to that record pretty often.
That record.
It's so good.
I bought this record the very same day. The dude, I'm pretty sure the guy out there somewhere still telling the story. He looked at me like I was losing my effing mind. I bought that record, that tape, and Raising Hell by DMC at the same time. And he was just like,
yeah, dude.
Are you all right, kid? I'm like, I'm all right. I got two of the best records in the entire store, bro. Like, I'm covered all summer. You kidding me? I'm gonna listen to these back to back,
dude. Even a lot of your friends didn't understand.
No, but my music taste is so eclectic and so wide ranging that I can't.
I was exactly the same. I
can't put everything into one.
I was loving both of those at the same time
because they're amazing.
Art that we're talking about, but I failed to tap my Yngwie collection. This one,
yes.
If I did my research, I could tell you who did this art.
Man, picking out one Funkadelic album.
And a lot of their albums have very similar artwork. Not all of them, but there's a little continuity there. This record,
I think this is Erykah Badu, who's amazing.
Well, this is actually representing what's on the cover of Maggot Brain by Funkadelic.
I almost bought that shirt.
I could say this about so many records, and sometimes I think it in my head, and I don't know like how true it really is to say the phrase, this record changed my life. But I think maybe records change your life in very small incremental ways. They add to your life, I guess, maybe even more than changing it.
There's just so much going on with these.
I was 19 when I discovered this record. Somebody left a copy at my house for me to check out, and it just absolutely blew my freaking mind.
It's a booty. I mean, come on, dude, you gotta love it.
Sprawling piece of art.
It's epic.
and then it's crazy stuff inside.
Was he going through some shit? Because her mouth is a little.
Yeah.
Like, did somebody do him wrong or?
Yeah, dude. I honestly, I don't know what this is trying to say exactly. The album is called Cosmic Slop. So there's some deeper stuff going on. I mean, there's weird alien creatures.
Superfly, literally
pimped out alien. Oh, it's Superfly. So that's supposed to be a fly.
I don't know. It just looks like Superfly to me.
Yeah. It's bizarre, but anyway, I've just looked at this album cover so much, and the album itself is just one of my favorites of all time. So
brilliant record.
Yeah, Cosmic Slop.
From 1986 to 1987, art by Edward J. Repka. The band Can Only Be Death.
Yes.
Scream Bloody Gore. Where else are you gonna get? You get the crazy logo. You get the dude on the throne, but there's stuff behind him. Skulls everywhere. You just look at this and listen to the. If you were lucky that they would have the lyrics in it, because you were like, "What the heck is he doing? What's he saying?" But yeah, I love this band. Everything they ever released is amazing. It was hard just picking one of their records, but I had to go with the first one.
I did
in '86. You were like, "Oh shit!"
I did look at a few Death covers, considering them. Probably didn't pick any just because maybe they just didn't feel like covers I'd stared at for as long. I hadn't collected Death records until the last 5 or 6 years, probably. But
I finally got my hands on a copy of their last record. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I can't remember either. A great example, like that piece of art and several of their album covers, it's a great example of that extreme metal or thrash bands or whatever of that era, 80s into the 90s, commissioning brand new paintings to be their album cover and finding artists who are that talented going, hell yeah, love to create a piece of art based on your vision of this album. And there's a band coming up in both our lists that kind of created the template for that, possibly.
Yeah, until they unceremoniously booted him, and now all their record covers suck.
That I do not appreciate.
I don't either. I don't understand what the hell's going on with that.
All
Stupid.
Right. Here's one of the ones I do not own this on LP or CD. I'm actually currently waiting to find this album cover. I go to Grace Jones earlier, but this is the one that I just can't believe. This is a photograph of her. It's not doctored in any way, and hopefully you can see it. Well, shoot. Is that going to work?
A little bit.
Okay, there we go. That is her striking this pose as if she's a statue.
She was a specimen.
Yeah, as if she's a statue. I just think conceptually as a photographic piece of art, using the artist as the artistic object in the image, just Grace Jones is just on another level, man.
Grace Jones unapologetically being Grace Jones.
Indeed. Golly gee.
I mean, that would have been a story. I would love to tell it. Different year, different band, same artist, Ed Repka, back on the scene, going back to 1986. Megadeth's magnum opus. Peace Sells. Who's buying? You got Vic Rattlehead as a realtor selling the burned out remnants of the UN building.
Man.
Peace Sells, but who's buying? Their best record. It's not a debate.
It's always been my favorite. I've always considered it their best.
If your favorite is Rust in Peace,
Rust in Peace would be the other.
But it's not as good as
Rust in Peace is a competitor.
This is an amazing
Rust in Peace, I think, is a masterpiece record. But
but still not as good as this.
This cut my teeth on this shit, man.
So good. You were loving the fact that Metallica kicked him out of the band when this dropped, and you were like, "Oh, thank you. This is amazing."
And not to slag "Killing Is My Business" either. That was a pretty decent.
No, that was a decent
start for
Fingers Up.
But
F you to the
Peace
metal
Cells,
world.
front to back, the production quality, the drum sound on that record.
And that's Peace Cells just as a song is
Conjuring, Devil's Island, Peace Cells, Wake Up Dead.
Yeah.
Love it. And I have stared at that picture
for
hours. Also just the color tone, the hue of it is just
burned out, post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if this is the greatest piece of art, but it's one of my favorite records of all time, and I've just stared at it. Again, the color choice, the hue, this color of dark night with lightning lighting up the sky, electrifying this electric chair. What do you think? Is it a greatest album cover of all time, or am I just biased towards it?
It's them in their prime. It's not on my list, but I don't hate it. I mean,
it's not super special.
The way that their logo was on point. The lightning's coming from their energy is creating the lightning that's lighting up. And plus, that record is just phenomenal.
It's just a perfect record.
Fleming Rasmussen, the god level producer, just honing their skills to a fucking razor's edge.
This image of Cliff Burton, just raging, just killing it on the bass. Yeah, cool.
It's a great
record to me, and I've just stared at it since I was about 12
for years.
Years old.
For years, you would just be like, "What does this mean?" Stay in the 80s. Thomas Holm was the artist on this from 1984. I could have picked any number of this gentleman's solo work or work with a band, but this one to me was the most iconic, the one that captivated me as a kid, the one that there's not a lot to stare at, but you just found yourself immersed in it. Just you couldn't take your eyes away. It's very striking.
Oh man!
From the mind of the king.
Yeah.
Don't break the oath. Is he coming out of hell? Is he sinking into the fires of hell? Who's he pointing at? Is he pointing at you? Is he pointing at me? Who's he pointing at? I don't know. But this record is amazing.
Yeah.
Merciful of Fate is amazing.
They've got some other amazing album covers as well. Well, actually, it's a
Fatal Portrait. That's a great record. One. Many King Diamond records. Abigail. You could have Abigailed them. Could have went so many different. But that one to me is the one that's the most striking. The most.
Yeah.
You got to remember that was like 84. So you're like,
Yeah.
Now satanic iconography and that kind of stuff is just passe. You're just like, okay, it's another band that sings about Satan. But back then you were like,
yeah,
I love it.
I remember being 11, 12 years old, being afraid, slightly afraid of what I was about to embark on.
That's how you
onto this stuff.
You were like, am I doing something wrong?
Yeah. It's a little intimidating.
You can't get that from music anymore.
And then once you get a taste of it, you're like...
Nobody listens to Billie Eilish and is like, am I doing something? Am I going to go to hell if I listen to this? Yeah, you are, because it sucks. Fuck out of here. I'm kidding.
Man.
Billie Eilish doesn't suck. She's actually pretty good. I'm sick of her already.
Yeah,
but
she's fairly talented.
She's extremely talented, and
I actually don't like her vocal style.
It's just boring.
The affectation of how she uses her voice
to me.
Yeah,
but I mean,
there's actually something that goes beyond boring to kind of agitating.
Yeah.
I can tell that the songs are well-written songs.
Where are you gonna go though? Where are you gonna? What's the? Kesha had the same thing. Okay, great. You're a party girl, want to get hammered, but then what do you do?
Of course, being female and not having reached adult age yet, she's going to have to do that thing where
she's going to have to reinvent herself.
Exploit my sexuality.
I hope not.
She'll have to go through that phase. Don't they all?
Don't do that, Billie Eilish.
That's actually probably
just be you, and
that's rude of me to say.
Make a punk record.
Yeah.
What the hell? I mean,
we'll see. She's talented.
All the shit you want to say lends itself to punk anyway. Why the fuck are you whispering on the fucking radio? And
maybe she'll come out with like an ICP type of thing.
I'd be into that. Like ICP Billie Eilish fucking like combo. I don't hear on ICP. Their early shit's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man. This next group, I don't know if you're familiar with Sparks.
No. I had never heard of them until just recently.
Yeah, they've kind of come into the lexicon. There's actually a new documentary film about them.
Edgar Wright.
Okay, not familiar.
He did Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, many of these guys' album covers are interesting little sort of little mini stories just in this image. It's hard to describe what I think. I don't even know what they're saying, and I haven't acquired this one on LP yet. I've been collecting their records more recently. How did I have that before so you could see it? That's not going to work very well. Anyway, it's the two members of the group with their arms and legs tied, and they have gags in their mouths, and they're on the back of a speedboat. And I wish you could see it better there. Look it up on Google it. I don't know. They were kind of an artsy alternative rock band from the 70s. They were from LA, but they might have even seemed like they were from England or something. Just kind of art student music guys. But what the hell are they doing tied up in the back of speedboat?
I don't even know why.
I think it's a great piece of album art. Even if Greg's not impressed.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't stoke my fire to want to listen to that record. I mean,
it works.
I'm not above tying someone up and shoving something in their mouth. Man, something from the 80s. Back to 86. Art by Don Brottingham from 1986. From the first 4 records of the Metal Masters.
Wow. So that's why you had that nonplussed look on your face.
That's why.
You should have picked Master of Puppets, bro.
Can you see this?
I would say that's a better piece of art.
There's so much going on in this picture that you don't even really... So first you see their logo is prominent, but behind their logo is a set of hands.
Yeah.
So the strings of dead soldiers, there's a dog tag, there's the Kevlar helmet. So much meaning, especially if you're a vet. Of who's pulling our strings. But then you add a layer of, look at the grass. It's growing. So the graves have been neglected because, generally speaking, once we come home or if we're dead, we're forgotten.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit. So there's a lot.
There's a helmet hanging on
Yeah, the Kevlar. Cross. There's a lot going on. That middle cross has dog tags hanging off of it. So there's a ton going on here. There's so much meaning and...
Yeah, and that would directly relate to the song Disposable Heroes.
Yeah, look at the Young Bucks. Young Metallica.
It's interesting, too, because it has the meaning you're talking about, but then also the title Master of Puppets also relates to drug addiction as well.
All kinds of things. It can mean so many things.
I love Master of Puppets so much, but I still love Ride the Lightning more. kind of splitting hairs in a way.
It really depends on what day you catch me.
Yeah, and both equally impactful on me when I was younger. When I first discovered I was interested in Metallica, Ride the Lightning was the tape that was at the store when I went to get something, and I started with that. But then right away, I remember someone at school, they had brought their Master of Puppets tape to school, and they were showing people like, this shit. This is the dopest stuff.
Dude, can you remember when Metallica was underground? Dude. Now it's like little kids wear Metallica shirts. But when we were sporting our shit, people were like, who the hell is that?
It was brand new stuff, man.
Oh, man.
And when it was played at a gathering, a party or something, it got everybody's attention. It was like, this is heavy shit, man.
It got you on so many levels. What they were saying was unique. The way that they were presenting it, the chugging, just...
Yeah.
It's thrash, man. What else can you say? It's...
But then years later, you kind of realize how really sophisticated the musicality of it was. And they were creating thrash metal, but kind of immediately going way beyond it. So we're
my favorite skateboard movie of all time is Thrash, and just a cheesy, like, Romeo and Juliet kind of. But Josh Brolin has that. It's just the style, man. It's thrashing. Fucking thrash. Like, what else can you say? Like, in your face, take no prisoners.
God, he's the main character in that movie.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Young Buck.
Could he skate?
He skated a little bit. Robert Ressler could skate, though. He did a lot of his.
So he did that after Goonies. He did thrashing.
Did he do it after or before? I don't remember. Might have been after.
Maybe it was before. God, I don't know. All right, man. So we're entering that zone.
We're entering the zone. We're getting close.
We both kind of had the same idea that for this band, we were only going to pick one example.
It was hard.
I just brought two because I couldn't make up my mind about any of them.
Let's see which ones you brought.
Well, I kind of was going Killers first because this cover just blew my young mind. I was aware of that time too, but this one just, that Eddie was just so perfectly frightening, really dark. And then I brought Number of the Beast because that is just one of the most epic illustrations. But I could have brought Live After Death. Peace of Mind's amazing. Power Slave is amazing. I love them all. I just really couldn't decide. So I just brought two to give you the example. I mean, Derek Riggs. Iron Maiden formed a relationship with this artist right from the beginning. And Greg shaking his head because they dissed Derek Riggs. I mean,
Maiden was going to be great no matter what. Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to take anything away from how great they were always going to be. They were always going to be great. But ... Dude. That had a heavy hand in it when you saw how amazing those album covers were, where you saw how intricate and in depth and how much hidden shit was in, like, the Somewhere in Time record. There's so much hidden stuff in that.
Yeah.
Derek Riggs was on another level, and I don't know what you need to do, but put that reunion back together. Let him, because your album covers, for the most part, ever since you got rid of him, have fucking sucked.
You're starting to make a really massive point, which ties into why we want to do album covers. Album covers are very important. Yes, Iron Maiden would have proven themselves. They're clearly, one of the greatest heavy bands of all time in a world of their own musically. However, there is a good possibility that they would not have caught on the same way. It might have been a bit more of an uphill climb for them. I don't know. There's
a huge chunk of growing up in the late 70s and 80s that I don't know that we talk about too much. So we talk about going to a record store a lot, where you would go to these places. Well, record stores didn't just sell records. There were records, there were tapes, there were stickers, there were rows and racks of posters.
Yeah.
Maiden had posters for like songs,
Yeah.
not just album covers. Like Aces High
Well,
was,
also
and then shirts of all the different. Like you couldn't get all the Maiden shirts.
Well,
you
also they were from the UK, which was heavy into singles.
Yeah.
So all of their albums
had
all of their albums had 3 to 5 single releases.
Prominent in that.
Yeah.
It was just as important as the music.
Yeah.
With the image that they were putting out with Eddie was all Derek Riggs. Like it might have been their idea, but without his artistic view and how he put that forward, that marriage wouldn't have been the same.
And not just his artwork, but featuring this one character that evolves from album to album.
Now many people do that. Megadeth does it.
For sure.
You know, there's other bands that now have
some other bands that have
the Descendants have Milo.
Yeah.
He's on all their record. Like everybody does it now.
Yeah, but Derek Riggs was the original master, man. And on top of that, if you liked music like this in the 80s as a kid, maybe kids are still doing it today, who was not trying to draw the Eddie?
Yeah. And all the different way that different bands wrote their names out.
I had to do a report
fonts.
In 7th grade. Maybe I had to do a sort of a literature response report. This was at St. Bernard's, and I chose to do a report. Actually, to be honest, I don't know exactly what it was, but I used the poem "The Jabberwocky" from Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass. And for the cover of that report, I drew Eddie as the Jabberwocky because I was obsessed with it.
We had what is it, sophomore year? I want to say sophomore year English. We did a full-on Rime of the Ancient Mariner, like the whole thing. We had to memorize part of the poem, and I was like, "Yeah, we should listen to the Maiden song." I got her to play.
Oh, nice!
An Iron Maiden song.
Heck yeah!
Rime of the Ancient Mariner. So
man, yeah.
My turn again.
Yeah.
A year earlier, Albert Kuhler, however, 1985, staying in the Big Four. And again, a band you could probably pick 2, 3, 4, but the one that was like somewhat shocking, and I even had the t-shirt. Yeah. People looked at me like I was losing my mind.
God, I should have picked that.
Hell Awaits. I mean, as a Catholic school kid in 1985, when I was 13, look, you got demons ripping dudes apart, hellfire. This dude's got a sword with a guy's head on it. Like, you just stared at this, and while the record played, and you were like, I'm pretty sure that I'm breaking every single one of God's laws.
My God. I would have had a hard time picking. I might have chosen
Rain,
South of Heaven, maybe.
That's my favorite Slayer record of all time.
There's something about that artist. What's that artist name again?
Albert Kuhler.
There's something about this artist that there's something like pre-Renaissance in the influence of their artistic style.
Look at those young. This just scared the all shit out of me
and Rain and Blood too. It's like, what the hell is going on?
And I went on a excursion with my neighbors. They ran a glass shop, an auto glass place. Still exists in Eureka. Their daughter runs it now. SNH Auto Glass.
Okay, yeah.
And her younger brothers, their parents were going on they were going to San Francisco to do this. So they were taking the boys with them. So they were like, we don't have anything. They can't stay by themselves during the day. So they had rented this early Airbnb. It was like this apartment, right off the pier, like right over by pier. And we had a blast. So they basically paid me to go to San Francisco and hang out for like the weekend and hang out with kids that I dug anyway and babysitted anyway. It was great. And so they chipped me off all this cash, and we were walking around Pier 39, and they had a t-shirt shop, and that's the shirt I got. And people would look at you like, it's the Slayer logo prominent, and when they see the back with the hella weights with demons ripping this dude apart.
That's another thing too. Anybody can wear any kind of weird t-shirt today. It doesn't shock people. In the 80s, if you were wearing a heavy metal shirt, especially with that kind of imagery, you'd get sent home from school. Adults would look at you like there was something wrong with your parents.
And it was a way for us to know that there were others.
Oh, yeah.
Like you'd instantly, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what color,
big time,
what age, what nothing. If you saw somebody wearing a shirt of a band you liked and you were wearing a shirt of a band they liked, you instantly were brothers.
Yeah.
You were instantly connected.
Totally.
It crosses all lines, all barriers. Music does all things.
Dude, that was so true, especially back then. When you saw somebody wearing a cool shirt, you could go up to them and be like, cool shirt, bro.
And you'd have a conversation. It would instant conversation.
Like, you dig that too? Yeah.
It doesn't matter what their background was. It could be could be complete and total opposites, but in that moment you were brothers. It was instantaneous.
Man. Sometimes I miss those days.
Hella miss those days.
All right. Well, we didn't say we were going to set it up as top 5, but we kind of ended up. So I'm in my top. Sure. You go before me though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I got 4 left. That would have been my number 5, I guess, if I was ordering it.
This record means a lot to me. It's hard for me to pick a favorite Queen album, but this cover to me is this is a standout cover. Kind of precursoring the metal era, I guess, having a real painted sort of fine art piece, but it's got weird subject matter. I guess that's...
So my girlfriend is a massive Queen fan, and we watch a lot of things that I don't really have television. We watch a lot of food porn on YouTube. So that's
the gatefold.
There was a channel they did top 20 Queen songs, and I've kind of fallen out of love with them since their little bullshit fucking commercial movie.
Come on, don't let
when people like really start loving shit that you've already been into and seemingly nobody liked it at some point, and now everyone's fawns over it, you kind of lose interest in it. So I wanted to watch, and I was like, look, this is gonna piss me off because they're gonna get this list completely fucking wrong.
Right.
And of course they did. So eventually, someday, I'll get him to do like top 20 Queen songs.
Yeah.
So I can right the wrongs of that bullshit list.
I didn't let the hype around Queen that's kind of stirred up. I didn't let that bother me. At this point, I'm in my own bubble. I love them the way I love them. I love the songs I love. Some people would argue this is one of the best Queen records, but for me, front to back, I love this record. And I just think this is a really iconic, great...
I mean, it's not as great as Flash, but...
That's a great record, man.
I love that record.
That is a great record.
What's the rules? There are rules to this.
Brainchild.
I break my own rules a lot of times, but what have I always said? I can't have a list if Kiss isn't on it. As a 5-year-old in 1977, when you saw this,
dude,
you were like, is it the best Kiss album?
I don't know.
I don't know. Destroyer might be better, but look, there's like the Kiss, like females in Kiss makeup, like dropping at their feet. They're in line. They're in like some kind of ceremonial chamber.
This one and Destroyer are actually the only two Kiss album covers like that, right?
Yeah, because Dressed to Kill was awesome, but they're in suits.
And it's a photograph.
Yeah.
This is a painting.
Yeah, those two must have been done by the same.
The first Kiss album was just their faces.
It was hard to decide between this and Destroyer, but I went with this
just because
of the ladies.
I considered Destroyer, and it just didn't make it in there. But
Love Gun 77, Ken Kelly was the artist on that. But it's almost like when you look at it, when you look at the whole, it's almost like Frank Frazetta-ish.
Yeah,
I mean, Boris
I think Destroyer was definitely a play on.
Yeah, right. You got that kind of like, if you saw snakes and dudes with swords and axes, you wouldn't have thought much about it.
I'm glad you picked that. You picked a lot of ones that I considered, but I was kind of my taste is real broad. I was kind of going for
nature.
Yeah, but some of those, they crossed my mind. I thought about Destroyer.
Speaking of Frazetta and Boris Vallejo, or however, like the Hall of Fame record art, Molly Hatchet.
Oh yeah.
I can name one Molly Hatchet song. I think their whole career was based on the fact that their record covers were epic.
And I think the best one is the Flirting with Disaster cover.
Yeah. Nothing inside that record matches that album art. But those album covers were amazing.
Because they were really just kind of
they were Frazetta paintings, yeah. And they were all like dudes with battle axes and
My friend Darren, this was almost sacrilegious, but we doctor generally thrift store records that are never going to sell to anybody else, and we paint over them, right? We use paint pens and we do funny stuff and everything. Well, he took that Flirting with Disaster Molly Hatchet record and actually did something quite beautiful. And normally he gives me his art if I really like it, but he had already given that to somebody else. But it's a to me it looks like kind of like a dwarf Viking warrior, maybe from medieval fantasy. They're just a stocky, burly warrior, but he made it dripping with blood, like just like gooey blood, just coming off at every part of this character in this painting. And he did it so beautifully. It was almost like, a post-battle thing, but it was just completely over the top. Anyway, I wish I had that.
Okay.
All right, man. This one, I got to take the plastic sleeve off. If I just show you this cover, you might be wondering, like, what's so great about that?
Completely.
Now, this is one where I'm defending the literal take on this topic, which is album covers, cover art. But this contains one of the most iconic inner gatefold images. ZZ Top's Tres Hombres, the spread of Mexican food that many people have put up on their wall. It looks like kind of a mess, but it kind of makes me hungry. This is, you could ask around, this is one of the most talked to be in greatest album covers of all time. Because
maybe in the honorable mentions, but
nah, dude.
I mean, man, that's pretty high on the list for, it's kind of a boring album cover. That's a great looking meal, but
I just think that's an ingenious. There's no words. There's no information.
You hungry?
Yeah.
Let's grab.
For me, that just conceptually, I get there.
1983, Randy Barrett with the illustration or painting or whatever, and you talk about an album cover you stared at because it's 83. You're 11.
Oh yeah.
Holy Diver.
Man, you have to open up that.
You have to. You got to get the full sense of. And again, Catholic school kids being super young, and metal was blowing up and becoming all this, that, and the other. You saw this. You didn't have any idea what was on it, and you did not care.
No.
You were just...
I mean, I was probably already...
Posters were everywhere. Shirts were everywhere.
I was probably already aware of the music by the time I was looking for these albums. But, yeah, there was... I just knew I loved it. I might have heard one Dio tune, and anything I bought by Dio, I loved. That's definitely one of them, man. The album cover for Sacred Heart.
Priest, love Sacred Heart, one of my favorite Dio records.
And since we're talking about the we went to Catholic school, we were drawn to this dark stuff. We were told, I don't know who told me,
I don't remember
but Dio's logo, if you turned it upside down, you could see the word evil in there.
Or devil. Or Devil.
Was it devil?
Yeah, devil.
Okay, yeah. So I tripped out on that trying to see that.
Because you wanted it to be true. You don't even know if it was true. You just wanted it. Just like this was kids in Satan's service.
You're like, dude, it really does.
Yeah, it does. It's so fucking crazy.
Did Dio want it that way?
I hope so, because it's hilarious if he did. But I mean, what a tour de force record too.
Oh, geez, yeah. Again,
the Last in Line, and then that
they were getting fine artists. They were getting people who had the talent to do fine art.
Full on create a record. Not just we're taking a picture of a band on an album cover. We're doing a full-on.
That's another beautiful thing about it. Now that you say that too. Not just a picture of the band. These artists, they took their ego out of the presentation. They wanted the music to speak for itself, and they wanted the art to match.
And it captivated you, grabbed you. It took hold of you.
It piqued your imagination.
You dove into the art while you listened to the music play.
God, and you can really feel the action of that chain whip thing that he's got.
And the sky is opening up. It's
excellent.
Top notch.
Excellent. Well, we're shifting musical gears again, but this is one of the very first ones that came to my mind when I thought about my personal favorite album covers of all time. It's a later album by Thelonious Monk called Underground, and you'd probably have to look this up on the internet, because I'm not going to hold it and try to show you everything. But talk about a storyline. He's dressed like some kind of a rebel. There's a bust and a flag of Nazi general and a Nazi flag, and there's a story on the back of the album that describes this fictional concept of this picture. So look at Intrigued at all. It's one of the wildest album covers of all time. I think it's probably in the list of amazing album covers. There's just so many little hidden things staged into this picture, and then the fact that this it says on the back a word about the cover photograph. And
it's more than a word.
And then the rest of it is
a couple paragraphs.
Complete fiction.
Mr. Monk.
Yeah, it's someone else. It's fictionalized. It also happens to be probably my favorite Thelonious Monk record musically. Anyway, this one immediately came to my mind. I've stared at this for hours. I think I discovered this record when I was around 19, so getting close to 30 years ago. Check it out.
We talk about all the time, born in the 70s, teen in the 80s, 20s, and really discovering and building who you are in the 90s. And the 90s is an important decade. And one of the most important bands from the 90s is a very artistic band. They're very rarely put pictures of themselves out. They're very, and I don't know how well this is going to come across on screen, but this is one of their later records, because it's my favorite album cover from theirs. The master, Alex Grey, does a lot of their artwork from 2001, Lateral from Tool.
There you go.
And it's not a standard painting in a way. I mean, it was a painting, but then they did this weird thing where it's like a clear plastic, and every time you open it, the art changes.
It's almost like from a anatomical biology books.
Yeah, so it's just immersive and amazing, and it's Tool. What can you say? Like, Tool is a very artistically driven and it matches them perfectly. Cool. And this is a brilliant record, and people have this tattooed on them now, and it's just taken on a life of its own.
Album that put that with, I think, is the 10,000
Days.
That one had
the little goggle things.
These God, what did you call it? It was I can't think of the right word. When you look at two images and you trick your eyes into seeing one image. And I remember when the CD came out and we opened one up to play it in the store, and it took us a minute to figure out how this thing worked.
To set it up a specific
because a part of it lifted up with those two lenses, and the way that worked is you fold it up and you look through the two lenses, and then the booklet would have these series of pictures that when you flip them up, you would be looking through the lenses but it was a stereo picture. It made me
so mad because it doesn't fit in your CD case correctly.
Yeah, you can't stack it. You can't.
Tool.
But who else would have thought to do something like that?
Yeah, they are completely driven by the artistic
their
vision of their
CD release.
Fear Inoculum, which I still don't have,
has an actual digital viewing inside the case. As soon as you open the case, a video starts to play with sound as well. That's pretty darn awesome. That's a great one, because before that was Anima.
Yeah,
with the only thing that really was dynamic about that was that kind of lenticular plastic.
Yeah.
So it made the image, if you turned it,
move,
it would
and then California would fall off on the inside of it.
They were always thinking about interesting stuff like that. Man, we're getting down to it. This one I just had to throw in. Come on.
You were the esoteric for a reason.
This is considered the most notorious album cover of all time, or at least it was at one time. And I've actually met this woman. She's still alive. And I used to know her great niece. Her niece and her great niece were Eurekaans. And
interesting.
Was with her great niece, who unfortunately passed away. And I've told this story many times. This is only kind of personal to me, but she, the relative of this cover model, and then another friend of mine who was a really good person, a good friend, he collected every single record, every single copy of this album that he ever found. At his funeral service, I learned that he collected, I don't know how many, I don't know if he had 50 or 100, and he passed away young as well. And so I feel this kind of strange connection. And then I happened to meet her. She came to the record store, and she was asking if we wanted to buy prints of outtakes of this photo shoot that she had. And I got one. She signed it to me, and her name's Dolores. And, I've been looking at this since I was a little kid.
I think my father had that record, and I don't even know if he liked music. He did. I think he just liked the cover.
This was at my grandparents' house, and I, of course, found it provocative and interesting to look at. Anyway, I just kind of felt there. That's a top album cover. As Greg shakes his head at me. Come on, man. Perspective.
I make choices and decisions, and then I don't make the right ones. I think I should have went in a different direction with this, but I picked what I picked, so I'm just going to roll with it.
This is your top pick.
My top pick. They put out an album, and then the preceding that album, a live record came right after it of that album. That live record is without that previous record for it that really, really captivated me. So much that as a kid, I wanted part of it tattooed on me before I ever thought I would actually get tattoos because needles hurt. I just went with the original.
Yeah.
Derek Riggs, the iconic master artist for Iron Maiden, has to be Powerslave. Talk about layers on layers on layers. The Egypt thing, which I was fascinated with, the whole snake thingy was amazing. Eddie as a pharaoh. There's stuff here that you can kind of see if you really look into it. It just was grandiose and epic in a way that
completely epic.
In a lot of ways, only Iron Maiden did in these days. There weren't a lot of bands doing such crazy.
I would say too, what's rad about this one is it's the previous album covers focused just on Eddie, pretty much.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on, but this one has more depth of perspective.
Yeah, there's so
it's
much.
A lot more epic of a theme that Eddie's embedded into. And then like his ability to create this glowing light effect up there.
So what we were talking about earlier, let's go through the track list for this record, which is kind of why I picked it. As you walk in, you're like, oh, we're upstairs right into the Pharaoh's junk. So the first track on record was Aces High. That had its own poster and shirts and crazy with Eddie in the aircraft.
In the cockpit.
2 Midnight had one with him and the clock and all that stuff. I don't know if Flash of the Blade did.
Yeah, I don't know those.
Powerslave obviously did. Rime of the Ancient Mariner had its own. Like every single one of these had their own version of Eddie doing different things.
Yeah,
like
probably at least the ones that were singles releases.
That's how in depth he was with their art and how amazing.
I have reissues of
that's from '84, by the way.
I have reissues of about 8 Iron Maiden 45 singles. They were reissued, but
they put out that. Whole
I got them just for the
artwork.
I haven't even. Yeah, I got these ones individually, but I haven't even opened them because I got them just to have
the artwork.
Yeah, it's a great one.
I think he's got a book out, but it's so ridiculously expensive that.
Yeah, they need to get back with him.
Yeah, or some other band that puts out a ton of music. You guys do something and be awesome.
Man, that's a great number one pick. I can't argue with any of your picks. They're all great art. They're all just very. What's the right word? Capture your imagination. You said you hesitated a little bit on picking that one.
I might have could have went Live After Death.
Live After Death is
and I wore that shirt out. It became red hair. I wore that shirt so much. I loved it.
I didn't hesitate on this.
Because remember, it was one thing if you got a shirt.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what's up, Richie Rich? You got you spent the extra. Yeah.
Well, that was that a tour shirt, or was it just double sided?
I think it was just double sided.
Stuff on the back of it. Damn.
I can't remember. Might have had tour dates on the back. Yeah, if you got tour dates, you thought you were special.
Well, this was kind of weird. Nobody created this image for this band, but. I didn't hesitate on this. I knew right off because this is my cover of all time, and it's because The Wizard of Oz is my favorite film of all time, and the fact that ELO used this for their album El Dorado. Just kind of blows my mind. And they didn't even do anything different on the back. Front and back is the exact same picture.
You could have bet me $1 million and I wouldn't have been able to pick that. I think your whole list went in directions that I just was like, I didn't foresee at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of weird like that, I guess. I don't know. It's reaching for the ruby slippers and being repelled because Dorothy had the power. And the fact that a band that I came to love quite deeply used this for their album cover.
Wasn't that on Jason's list of records by great bands? One of those ELO records was, but I can't remember which one.
I don't think it could be that one. That one's pretty good.
I can't believe that neither one of us put Dark Side of the Moon.
That was when we were talking about leaving out some kind of famous iconic
because you were just
ones.
Why did people like this so much?
I think that's a good example of one where the art just doesn't really stand alone. It's because it's paired with that book.
Speaking of your Wizard of Oz connection, right? Watched that?
What?
Dark Side of the Oz or whatever?
Yeah. You mean when you just watch the movie and play the record together?
Yeah, I've got an actual copy where it's synced.
Yes,
but it plays plays like 2.5 times through. So by the time you're getting towards that second time, you're like, all right, it's kind of lost.
I have checked it out. I think one of the best parts is when she opens the door in Oz and it's color, and then the song Time starts, I think.
Man, that's a crazy.
Yeah. Whoever thought that up, they were high.
Yeah, brilliant. So my 5 things today kind of revolves around the theme, amazing album art for my 5 things. One of my favorite Bay Area bands, maybe my favorite Bay Area band, Death Angel.
Yeah.
Dream Calls for Blood. Wolves with like weird skulls on.
Battle Wolves.
Their lineup right now is the best lineup they've ever had in this band, and they're putting out records that are albums of their career. They're on high. They are amazing. Rob Kavastani still writing amazing hooks and riffs, and their singer Mark Osudiga still sounds great. This is an amazing band. Check them out. They're awesome.
Sweet. Yeah.
How did
we not get Geiger into our mix here?
HR. This is Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. And if you see, this is the way that you'd see the album on the CD, but the entire piece. Yeah. And then you see she's wearing this like Danzig dagger that would be sat on. So that's an amazing piece. But you didn't, when you just got the record, you were like,
you were pretty cool.
That's pretty intense. It looks alien-esque.
I think also once we figured out who Geiger was,
right?
Then it was kind of like, well, if somebody got HR Geiger, dude.
Another one of my favorite bands of all time, Fate's Warning, doing this crazy, weird. This is Awakening the Guardian when they had John Arch as their lead singer. Ray Alder's their lead singer now, but just weird, spacey, weird shit that I love.
It's kind of like Roger Dean-esque.
Yeah. At one time, somebody said that DRI was the fastest band in the world. I love this band so much. I have their logo tattooed on me.
Do you like Four of a Kind more than Dealing with It or Crossover? Or
probably not.
Yeah, they're all good.
Thrash Zone, Crossover, Dealing with It, all amazing records. This is great too. And I remember buying this shop. 88.
If there was one band that could be credited to creating crossover punk metal hybrid, it would probably have to be DRI.
Yeah, DRI, Suicidal.
Yeah, Suicidal for sure.
an album that just came out that I just got my hands on. If you're a fan of Norwegian black metal, you will know who Dark Throne is.
You got their newest one?
Got their newest one.
God, I tried to order. It was
back
order.
Spacey freaking shop. I haven't even got a chance to spin it yet. I listened to a little bit of it on YouTube.
Is it continuing the kind of black and roll style they've been doing?
Oh, yeah, it's fucking super dope.
I want that.
Eternal Hails.
I
Dark Throne, Fenris.
I absolutely love the last Dark Throne record.
That wasn't Panzerfaust, was it?
No, that their last one? That one goes farther back. It was Old Star.
Yeah.
Before that was Arctic Thunder.
Yeah.
I've really been digging those.
Because they're kind of like just. I don't know that necessarily branching out is the wrong. They just found a natural progression to where they can melt these two worlds together and and be amazing in it.
I love them.
I almost put Jesus. What was their first record? Fire in the Northern Sky.
Blaze
in the Northern Sky. I almost put that one on my list just because you were like, what the hell is this? This is basically black with this weird looking dude. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is this?
That's the thing.
But when that came out, you were like, holy shit, what are these all about? What the fuck? They're burning down churches and
and they were really inventing that imagery of the corpse paint, black metal imagery.
They were living it, man. They were loving it.
But so I don't know if we were as energetic tonight. Maybe a little, we're a little worn out. But
there's going to be a volume 2 at some point because there's so many punk records that I didn't.
Man, yeah, and I didn't go as heavy into that. I tried to kind of have more of a balanced mix of all kinds of stuff I like. But it's no matter what it is, album covers become part of your overall experience with loving that band or that record. So once you love a record, the love of that album art could definitely go hand in hand a lot of times. So I was going to say, we are not getting enough responses to our videos.
None. No love. Come on, guys.
We'd like to get more
likes
views
and shares and subscribes and get active in the.
If you don't like our vibe, that's cool.
Suggest
topics. We're still figuring out how to be good at this shit, but I know some people are watching. We get some views, so go say something. Like in this one, give us some suggestions of album covers that we might have missed.
They know there's a ton of them out there.
Yeah,
you could do volumes and volumes and volumes on this.
And please share this shit.
Spread it around. Get it out there. We need to get our subscriber number up so we can buy a better camera and have better video. Any ideas
green screen
right? Any ideas on what you want to do for next week?
Man, I don't know. Do you refer back to some of the topics on the list? Maybe we'll figure it out.
On that note, fuck Amazon. Long live physical media. Rock and roll. We'll see you guys next week. We love you.